because I was
Let's get that back.
having trouble. I don't have a Kleenex.
Mac and I had ribs
Oh man.
and pork and what
Well,
all they have, Mac,
For what?
for the meal at the groundbreaking.
I don't know. I skipped.
You skipped?
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good.
I went to
Our new guy.
I had the county, 7 county commission,
Yeah,
and we have missed 2
you
times.
can't miss that.
We have made short 2 times, very short meeting. We had a whole bunch we needed to
Yeah.
take care of.
Boy, Hinkins and Albrecht thought that meal was out of this world.
Oh, all that.
Did you have the barbecue place do
Oh,
it?
it was the Pew guy from Blanding.
Oh, really?
Wasn't it Delton?
Delton Pew.
Did you get it ready?
Is Jamie coming?
He's gonna be late.
Oh.
So, Commissioner Stubbs is in charge,
Okay.
and she's leaving. Come back.
Thank you.
Governor called me Monday. He says, I can't make it to the groundbreaking. He says, I promise I will come to the open house.
Oh, cool.
Who is that?
He was gonna
Governor
be there.
Cox.
Oh, so I guess I can be there at the open house.
See that? Nice.
Okay, calling the meeting to order. It's at 11:01, and this is the Board of Commission meeting in October 15, 2024, and we have roll call. Commissioner Adams.
Yeah, here.
Myself here, Commissioner Harvey. I'll be coming a little bit late. Well, ask for a volunteer to say a prayer. Do we have any volunteer to say a prayer? Thank you.
Our gracious Father in heaven, we're grateful that we could be here this day, and we thank thee for the many blessings that we enjoy in this part of the land that we live in, and we ask that thy Spirit will help us, and that the decisions that are made this day, that they can be inspired and guided, and that we can remember the wonderful things we have living here in spite of all the problems. And we are grateful to thee for blessing us with freedom and the ability to have the rights that we do have. And we ask that thy blessing will be upon us this day in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Thanks, Lori.
Would you stand up to join us on the Pledge of Allegiance? Lama, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is a time where we disclose if we have any conflict of interest. Do we see anything on the agenda that we may?
I have none.
Okay, I have none either. I don't know, Commissioner Adams, so I'll turn the time to Matt for public comments.
All right. I'm not seeing anybody signed up here in the building for public comment. If there's anybody online, looks like we're trying to get Deborah on, but there's really nobody else online.
I have a public comment.
Okay. It's all you. 3 minutes, don't get a time.
Last Monday, Sunday afternoon, I drove down to Cedar City for the One Utah Summit. And on my way down, as I always do, when I passed through Richfield, I picked up the phone and called Ralph Okerlund, see how he was doing, and chatted with him for a while. It seemed like he was doing great. He made me promise the next time we came through that I'd go to dinner with him. I would have gone to dinner with him that day, except I'd already arranged for my granddaughter and her husband to do dinner that night in Cedar City. So I told him I'd have to do it next time. Anyway, we come home, and on Wednesday, he passed away.
Oh, really? Just like that? Huh?
Yeah.
Turn it off.
So Ralph had been Senator Okerlund, been in the Senate for quite a long time. I can't remember how long, but he had a heart attack on the floor of the Senate, and John Valentine, who I knew from college, revived him, and they did a heart transplant, and later on he had trouble with his kidney. They did a kidney transplant. So he lived for another 10 years from the time he had that first
That transplant.
heart attack and that transplant. So we talked to his wife yesterday. His funeral was on Monday, and we talked to his wife, and she said that she was just grateful they got to have him for that 10 more years. But
Yeah.
she said she could see now things that he was doing. He must have had a premonition that he wasn't going to live much longer because of the things that he was doing. But, previous to that, when I go to the rodeo in Las Vegas, when I go through Mesquite, I always call
Stop him.
Senator Dimitrich and visit with him while I'm passing through. And 2 months ago, he passed away.
Yeah.
So,
You waked up a calling then.
well, I told Senator Hinkins, who's from up around the Price area, I said, I don't know if there's a correlation between Mike Dimitrich passing away and them Price getting a temple or not, because Mike was a staunch Catholic. I said maybe we just had to get him out of the way. He said, Mike would really chuckle at that if you told him that, because he was really close to the first presidency when he was in the leadership. Anyway, those are
Do we
just,
have any public coming from the line? No, nobody online. So we'll go into the consent agenda and we'll turn time to Mac.
All right. For today, you have item number 1 on the consent agenda. Agenda is the approval of $105,258 in small purchases. We got $74,928 for a water filtration system and supplies for emergency management. You have $20,030 for standby power generator and automatic transfer switch for the San Juan County Sheriff's Department. You've got $7,300 for a global inspiration program for the San Juan County Visitor Services. Item number 2 is the approval of the maternal and child health contract between San Juan County and the State of Utah Department of Health and Human Services for fiscal year 2021, amendment number 9. Got approval of the San Juan County the San Juan Public Health Department contract between San Juan County and the State of Utah Department of Health and Human Services fiscal year 2021 through fiscal year 2027. This is the Violence and Injury Prevention Program amendment number 3. Item number 4 is approval of the Preventative Health and Health Services block grant contract between San Juan County and the State of Utah Department of Health and Human Services amendment number 1. Item number 5 is approval of the San Juan Health Department Community and Clinical Interventions contract between San Juan County and the State of Utah Department of Health and Human Services amendment number 3. Number 6 is the approval of an interlocal agreement for e-cigarette, tobacco, and other drug prevention between San Juan County and San Juan School District for the Albert R. Lyman Middle School amendment number 1. That, Commissioner, is your consent agenda items for today for your approval.
Okay, we're going into a business action, and this is something you also do, Mac. I am substituting, so I don't know if did we turn the time to you during break?
no, we need a
This
motion
one here,
on
we just take
Okay.
a motion
the
to
consent
approve.
agenda. I'll make the motion, we approve the 6 items on the consent agenda.
Okay, and I will second it. Okay, so
Call for a vote.
so let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Thank you. You have to kick me.
okay.
Okay.
Totally fine.
Consideration, we're going to go to item number 7 on the agenda is consideration approval of San Juan County Health Department Environment environmental service deliver plan and agreement between San Juan County and the state of Utah. Department of Environmental Quality fiscal year 2024. And you have it, huh?
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
So this was actually is a simple amendment. So I accidentally put in the wrong staff report there, but if you look at the actual agreement, it's an extension of the time for the environmental quality contract. So we actually had a little bit of funds remaining. I was concerned that we might be overspent as usual with the environmental quality contract because we were working with contractors instead of our own staff.
Mm-hmm.
But in the long run, we had a little left over. So they've given us a little time. So they'll extend the contract from June 30th to December 31st of this year, 2024. And it's great because we have our new environmental health director getting started, going through a lot of trainings and also building up some of our equipment that we need. And so this remaining funds will be used for a combination of that, trainings and some equipment. And if anything's a higher budget amount, I'll definitely submit that to the commission for approval as well. But this is just an extension of that contract
Okay.
time.
So
Grant, or do you work directly on these contracts, or do you have other staff that work on them for you?
I have staff that work
You
on
have
them.
staff do
Yeah.
it?
So this one is the environmental health director who has been going for a few months now.
Okay.
And
But if we had questions, we wouldn't necessarily need to direct them at staff. We direct them at you. Is that
you could start with
process that
me
you
and
follow?
see if I can answer. If it's something I know, I can answer directly. Otherwise, I will definitely recruit the experts, right, for detailed questions. Do you have any that you want to pose about this particular topic, or so that maybe I could try to answer or pass it on to
No,
them?
I just, before we make the motion, so you would bring us a more, you said that,
Oh, if you scroll down, Max, sorry about
okay.
Next.
You said there was,
that. There it is.
whatever you submitted wasn't the correct.
Yeah, just the
So-
staff report is
Okay, the
correct,
staff
but
report.
the
So,
agreement is the correct one.
okay,
So the current ending date there, June 30th, like I said.
okay,
New ending date, December 31st. No change in funding.
okay.
It's just an
Can you
extension
scroll
of
back
that.
up a little bit? Mac, I couldn't quite read all of that.
This one here.
Further.
So this is the previous staff report
Yeah,
that
right
I
there.
presented in, when was that? About
So
June?
this deals with air quality,
Yes.
drinking water,
So soil,
radiation control,
that's right.
water quality,
Hazardous
mercury,
hmm
and do we have any problems with any of those areas in San Juan County? I mean, seemed to me like our air quality is pretty good until we get a fire.
Right, as we have had, yeah. So, I mean, we did have a one example of a notice I received along with the environmental health director. There was pardon me for thinking just for a moment, I believe a natural gas leak as part of the pipeline, and that natural gas went out. It was more than is considered normal, but they were able to contain it quickly. I received a report about that, again, along with my environmental health director, and we were
But you
able
can't
to...
smell natural gas, right?
Right, and that's one where once it's out, oof, as long as we contain
Yeah.
it, we tend to say, all right, we at least contained it. And
How about mercury? Do we have mercury problems in our
not
soil?
that one's not
pipeline?
unique to us. That's a little bit of funding so that we can collect it, though. So if someone has an old thermometer or anything else, that we can
Oh.
actually help dispose of that. So we have a container at our office where we try to.
But we
wanna-
don't have any lead-filled pipes in the cities or anything like that.
I'd have to check on pipe status because lead is a whole nother topic there. Again, you probably know it's any older pipes, and I'd have to double check how old, what decade we're talking about. But that's one where, hey, we could provide some expertise on that. Let's see. One that is there is radiation, and so we do receive reports from the White Mesa Mill, for example. because that's a highly regulated industry, and we do receive those ongoing reports. Sorry, this is about the uranium mill with White Mesa. So we do receive those ongoing reports about that, and that's through, again, environmental quality, and our local staff is able to provide that local perspective while the rest of it is managed by the state. So we have that on the ground expertise, but then they have sometimes topic specific expertise at the state. And so we go back, we communicate back and forth, and then try to communicate that well with you all, with the board, and the community, of course.
Well, I know
Yeah.
this is unrelated, but last month I made a call to John Curtis's office and asked him about reauthorization of the downwinders compensation fund, and
Right.
he told me that he and Senator Lee were both working on that, and they thought they would get it through by the end of September. Have you heard anything?
No, I have not about downwinders. No.
Okay, I think they're trying to make that effort, and Senator Lee's father lived in St. George when he was younger, and he
Got it.
died of cancer. So Senator Lee he's
that.
invested.
That's, yeah, I hear you there.
So
hear
I
you.
think that they're really trying to make that effort. I don't know whether they'll run it directly or whether you'll be involved.
Yeah, I try to have some of my staff aware of that, since we do have, of course, the Monticello Cancer Screening Program. And if there is something where someone actually qualifies for downwinders, that's, of course, more comprehensive. Well, I say, of course, want people to know that's a more comprehensive program, as I understand it, does provide for treatment, whereas in the name of ours, right, it's currently cancer
and
screenings.
then if somebody passes away from cancer and they're downwinders victim, they get
Is there some there?
compensation for it. So,
Thank you.
and I know we've still got people that are young enough that they have possibly been exposed
You're right.
in the county.
That's well
So
said.
I
Yeah, the
think
rising
they're trying to get
generation,
that
right?
done.
Thank you.
Okay,
Do we have
make
a
a
motion?
motion we
Okay.
approve the agreement.
I'll second it. Okay, so that was number 7.
Take a vote.
Oh. Do we have a vote? Any question? Do we have a vote?
Okay, I vote yes.
I vote yes too. So we go to item number 8.
Okay, item number 8 is consideration and approval of the San Juan County Public Health Department's Women, Infant, and Children's Program contract between San Juan County and the State of Utah Department of Health and Human Services.
I have one of our usual flyers for Women, Infants, and Children program, the WIC program. Sorry, I did not attach this, but it does have just the basic information that we share with the public about this program. So this is one of our ongoing programs. We have had steady core funding for this, though the actual amount might fluctuate a bit year to year. And this is just up for renewal. It's a 5-year funding cycle. And so typically we get every year or throughout the year amendments to this agreement. And so this is a chance for us to give you an update and an overview about the program. See if you have any questions or comments. We went through a thorough presentation of the WIC program at our 2 board meetings ago. So I've attached that presentation. Let's see, I can't remember if it's the next, right after this. Okay, the next document is the actual contract. And Mac, if you were to scroll below that is our report, which has enrollment by area as well. So to get things started, just so you all and the public knows, this is what you could call it's a health program for low-income families. So on the handout I shared, it does have the income guidelines. So for example, a family of 4, if they make $57,720 a year or less, then they would qualify. Another example of this is if someone's on Medicaid, families on Medicaid, they would automatically qualify for the WIC program. So thanks, Mac, for scrolling to that. Have a few updates as far as our enrollment goes. So here we have our participant report, and you can see we have it broken down by parts of the county below. That we could start with that here. Quarterly number of participants by area. So you can see Monticello, LaSalle, and North. You can see we had 6 new families enrolled there. very slight loss there for Blanding, 2 families less, but then Bluff, Montezuma Creek, Aneth, etc. south, we have 4 additional families. So we have had the recent expansion to Bluff once a month. On the back of this flyer I handed out, that's the 3rd Wednesdays of the month, for example, October 16th. So getting ready for that tomorrow. And then, as you know, a year ago we re-expanded to Monticello, and so that's on the 2nd Wednesdays. So you can see we just had that last week on October 9th, coming up again on November 13th. So we feel like we're seeing this benefit of expanding again. We had contracted a bit because of COVID. Before that, we were going out to different sites, and now we're going back out again. Some of that is thanks to funding, and you can see the overall WIC funding did have a decline. Katie Knight, our WIC director, said, "Oh, there was a slight miscalculation in that difference." You can see 2024, 141,453, a drop to 140,622 in 2025 here. That's our
What the
presenting
PC
today.
stands for.
Oh, so that is the peer counselors.
Okay.
So there's some breastfeeding peer counselors that are
Okay.
funded through the program.
I have worked with children long time ago when there was no WIC program.
Yeah.
And I am a true believer at what it does to children. When the children used to come to my daycare, they would come with a bottle of Kool-Aid, a baby bottle of Kool-Aid. And by the
Right.
time they were 7 or 8, well, by the time they had the teeth, by 1 year old, all the teeth were
Right.
damaged. And working with children when they're not getting nutrition, they're very cranky, they don't have good balance, they keep bumping into things, falling down, getting hurt, and it's lots of frustration on them. By watching the WIC program come and the parents are putting milk in the bottles, having juice for the bottles, and it's day and night. I mean, the children come happy, they have energy, they don't. So I think this is a money well spent. And I was happy to see your unit here in our parking lot.
Yes.
And I encourage you to keep going north. We still have maybe Spanish Valley,
Right.
probably be a need there. So, and I know things take time to grow, but this is a program that I have a testimony of how good it is for family, for
Thank you.
mothers,
Thank you.
especially for mother when they're expecting not to be able to have good nutrition, because when the money is short, especially right now with the economy, you are looking for cheaper food, and sometimes those are not the protein, and sometimes those are not the ones that have the vitamins. It's just, you see lots of window shopping, people going back and forth in the aisles trying to figure out a meal, and the meals probably are not nutrition. So I was sure glad that we still have the WIC program to assist with having milk and juice and whatever, cheese. I don't know how much.
Yeah, there's a great variety, like you're saying, nutritious foods that they can access. Now it's with a card. So you might recall years ago, up until
voucher.
recently, it was a voucher. It's a WIC check. And so that was a little complicated. You'd have multiple checks. One check was for this type of food, another check for this type of food. So you're in the grocery line, you're already a little embarrassed, maybe just feeling like, oh, everyone might be looking at me because I'm on this program. Really, we want to reduce that stigma. It's just, hey, if you qualify, this is, like you're saying, an investment in families and their children and their well-being in the long run. And so now we've shifted to a card. So it just looks like a debit card or a credit card. And so parents are able to access the food more easily when they go shopping at a grocery store. And it's also allowed for simplicity in the overall program because it's electronic, not checks. So we're working on ensuring that in Cortez, that families, when they go over there to shop for a variety of things, even though they're crossing state lines and this is a state program, we're ensuring that we have agreement so that they can shop there as if they were in Utah. And so that's been it actually came up in some evaluation we did when we talked to current potential WIC participants. Say, hey, you qualify, but why aren't you enrolling? And they said, well, it would be helpful if we could shop in Cortez while we're over there. So we're excited about that change.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Oh, and I just want to check. Katie Knight, our WIC director, was going to try to join just in case you had any specific
I'm looking
questions.
at.
Yep.
So apparently you're in Monticello one day a month,
Yep.
LaSalle one day a month,
Oh.
Bluff one day a month,
So
Montezuma Creek one day, Anna, Monument Valley,
sorry.
Mexican Hat, and the rest of the time you're in Blanding.
So
7 days a month you're away from Blanding, and
on the back of this sheet has the actual schedule. So WIC in Blanding is every Tuesday. And then if you look in the next underlined part there, WIC Day in Monticello, that's on second Wednesdays. And then Bluff is third Wednesdays. And Blanding is a walk-in day. So we don't actually have appointments, and that's
the biggest population. I understand that. I'm just wondering if
Right.
we're reaching out enough by only being 1 day a month in some of these other communities.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I appreciate the fact that you started coming to Monticello last year after I indicated I thought there was a need.
Right.
And it looks like, there's 39 people last year between Monticello and LaSalle, and certainly 108 in Blanding and 77 not down on the reservation. So if you're, well, I don't know. I'm just
No, this is why-
looking at whether they're getting enough attention in these outlying communities.
Last year, the challenge was cost, and we
Okay.
were trying to figure out how to pay for it. So years ago, not too long ago, right? I'm just saying previously, we were open here in the I think it was here in the building, sometimes and that was open 5 days a week, but it was by appointment. And so what happened was it was taking up a little bit of time throughout the week. For us on Tuesdays in Blanding, the whole day is packed and very busy the whole day with those walk-in appointments. So we end up using up most of the funding in that one day. Tuesdays, I mean, not one day, right? But 1 day a week throughout the month. But because we have an extension on COVID funding, so when we advertise this, we're actually telling people that we have mobile COVID testing and WIC at these extension locations, because that's helping paying for the travel. Also, when we are here and we have an appointment, which is better for Monticello, a lot of families in Monticello prefer an appointment.
Okay.
And so we have that appointment locked in, but then there's downtime in between. And when staff are away from their offices, it's harder to multitask and cover these other grants that we have that pay for their time. So when we're on Tuesdays in Blanding, if there is a gap at all between those walk-in appointments, then they're able to cover some of those other grants. The other thing is that
if these outlying communities aren't using the service enough to justify it, I certainly can understand that.
We're trying to balance the two, right?
I just want to make sure that they're getting that opportunity.
I appreciate it
I
because
also want to
we're such a big county
include that
geographically.
Blanding has Westwater
Right.
and also
White Mesa.
White Mesa. And Blanding, we have the city limit, but we have lots of people that live in the county surrounding Blanding.
That's
So
true.
it kind of, anyway, but so
If you so this is one where we use this approach, we call it braiding of funds. So there's things like the childhood blood lead grant that helps pay. So when our WIC nurses are educating about or doing some blood testing for lead, that helps pay for some of their time. And so there's this combination of funding that really helps make it happen. So we do tap into some local funds for this, and that, as part of the public health funding. And so that has been between 10 and 40,000 actually dollars to help supplement the. Let's see, I have it right here. 49,000 in previous years. Sorry, Mac. If you could
Which one
scroll
are you
up to the
looking at?
staff report for this one. Sorry, I know there's a lot of documents in
Clear
this
back
section.
up to the top.
I know, right?
Hold on, let me get some.
Yep.
screens
So-
moving around.
So you can see there's 140,000 approximately from state WIC, and then we supplement with this other 49,000 approximately, and then braid in these other funds that aren't quite accounted for here. See
Is
that?
the biggest cost for the supplies for the people that come in? Is that the biggest cost of the WIC program?
I don't have a breakdown right now, but it's staff time mostly.
Staff time mostly?
Yeah, spending it with clients. There's a little bit for meetings, since our WIC director does coordinate with other WIC directors and receive guidance, and updates from the state WIC office. For example, we just had a meeting this morning checking on how is funding calculated years ahead. We found out that we are benefited for our funding in terms of being rural, so we get a boost in our funding there. We get a boost because we have the highest percentage of children living under the poverty line, ages 5 and under, about 29% of our children. And then the third is also if our enrollment is at a certain lower level, then they recognize it takes more to engage with those clients. So we we get a boost across those 3 categories for our state WIC funds. And then there's also a base that they provide because we are a standalone health department. And so that's 80,000 of the 140. That's a base to help pay for just to exist, just to have our own program. But sharing all that just to be as transparent as possible and to say we are trying to balance outreach with enrollment, just being able to provide the direct services and then being present. There's that bit of travel, of course, when we go out, travel time and driving that mobile WIC unit as well.
Do you own the mobile unit then?
We do,
Okay.
yes. So that was years ago. I couldn't speak to how that was paid for, but for a minute we thought, oh, maybe we're okay using the smaller one, but it ended up working out well. That was
But you
that's a whole
don't
story.
use that mobile unit in Blenheim, it's only when you leave
Right,
Blenheim?
it's only when we leave.
Okay.
Good clarification. Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we approve the WIC program contract between the county and the state.
I'll second it, and all in favor say
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any more comments on that?
Thank you. Thank you so much for the discussion, because really
Thanks
we
so
want to
much.
make sure that it's meeting the needs. And if you're hearing about things where it's like, yeah, we're not
Okay.
quite there. Another factor is that these appointments are staggered. So a family only has to come in 4 times a year.
Okay.
So that's one reason it
Stop
doesn't
it.
look as busy, even though we're like, hey, we're serving the need. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on.
Then we need Talia here, huh? So shall we?
We're on item number 9.
She is in a meeting
So yeah,
downstairs.
so item number 9 is consideration and approval of the 2025 Utah Rural County Grant Contract between San Juan County and the State of Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. Talia has a conflict right now, but basically we had applied for and received the annual allocation of $200,000 for this year's award, and so we had applied last month to get this in there on time, and then we have broken it down. Let me see if it may not be broken down on here, but this is what we use for economic development opportunities throughout the county, one of which is the grant process that we go through with our Economic Development Board. So they go through and they'll solicit for the grants for using a portion of these grant funding to be allocated back out to the community to support economic viability or vitality and growth within this county, as well as we hold over. I think this year we have some funding that is going to go to Main Street projects, as well as every year as we get into our annual Economic Development Summit, a portion of those funds are allocated towards that summit that we continue to host year after year here in San Juan County to kind of teach our local businesses the latest and greatest in technology, or if there's things that they need improvement, we'll have people come in and train on those subjects as well. And so look for that this year we're going to have that in December, so it's coming up here pretty quick. Next year we're going to pivot a little, and instead of having it here in the winter, we would have it more in the springtime. See if we can get businesses to come out at a different time frame, right before tourist season really starts to heat up, so that we can get some training and everything that they had asked for in that economic summit. And so that's basically what is in essence of this grant funding here.
If I remember right, I think Elaine said she thought that there ought to be an increase in that amount of money for the county.
I agree.
And that she was going to try to
Work on it.
convince the state that they need to allocate more money. Do you know?
We get the same allocation as Grand County, so that tells you
Yeah,
that
and that's something that we need to continue to champion. A lot of, if you look at all of the other counties throughout the state of Utah, they've experienced phenomenal growth. San Juan County is one of those counties that hasn't experienced that growth. We've actually been in a decline in population. And so as you look for this economic development allocation, we were hoping that we can get the state to allocate those funds from other areas of the state where they may not need economic growth, where it's naturally taking place. Here it seems like we've got to extend a welcome hand for all economic opportunities. If you remember back, you had passed a resolution right when Commissioner Stubbs and Commissioner Harvey came in, encouraging economic growth here in the county, encouraging the cities to work with their planning boards, planning and zoning boards, so that they can kind of encourage economic development through lesser restrictions in planning and zoning, and trying to extend an open arm to any and all economic development opportunities. And so we were hoping to get that out on the radar to the cities and towns, but more importantly the state, saying, hey, we're open for business, we're willing and to entertain any opportunities that helps us in our economic diversification, especially as we try to bring in other businesses, other manufacturing industries outside of just the tourism-centric industry that is our hottest market.
I had the opportunity this past year to sit on the board to make decision where the money will go. And I think it was one of the hardest things I had to do, because we seemed like we had like $170,000 around that amount. And we had over $1 million requests from people trying to start business. It's, people think that people should start business on their own. The way the economy is and the way our situation is in San Juan County is the most, even if you create a successful business, it takes lots of investment. I have family members that have done that, and even though they're successful in the business, it's still a very road to walk in. While I was as member of the county each of the counties had a meeting as a group at UAC a month ago, and we were talking about a situation like this. They were talking about situation of small county, big counties, and I stood up and said, well, how about the big, small county? Because we're big, but we're small. And sometimes I go and I see the riches up in the Wasatch Front, and you think many people can just move the money this way. But you go and you learn, and I learned, okay, it's very important that we keep those cities functioning. There's so many large cities in the United States that have gone into being trashy, and then the bad element moves in. So my vision changed in a different way, that we had to somehow figure out ways where we can help each other. And so that is something that I'm trying to foster in Blonding, trying to help each other and see how we can. And I know the business in Blonding, they do amazing. They could get their supplies someplace else for cheap, but they're trying to help each other by buying the supply within the community. And so I think it'll take all of us to improve our situation. So this is a program. They bring some money to our county. We just have to figure out ways how to supplement that. And so, do we have more comments or a motion?
No. I'm good. I'll make a motion that we approve the grant contract between San Juan County and the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity.
I'll second, and if there's no any more questions or comments, I'll make a motion that we vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, item number 10 is consideration and approval of the 2024 State Homeland Security Grant Program. We have Tammy Gallegos, Emergency Manager.
Good morning, how are you?
Busy all weekend.
So this is just a renewal of the Homeland Security Grant Program. We renew it every year. The amount this year is $121,823.
How's
This-
that compared to last year?
It's a little less.
Less.
It gets a little less. At one
Okay.
time, when Rick Bailey was here, it was up like 500,000. So it loses a little bit every year. This helps us pay for our reverse 911 system, sheriff's office radios. In fact, the water filtration system that was approved in the consent agenda is a part of this grant. It's just the grant from last year. So we're looking at some tools and light plants for this next grant, because our light plants are aging. It's been about 20 years, so we'd like to update those. And that's what we've projected use for this grant for this year.
Yeah, make a motion, we approve.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
I want to make some comments. We have people in the community that don't realize how hard the county people work. And I think about, the Gallegos, they have double whammy, because if it's a fire, the household had to be worried about it. If there's any other emergency, they have to worry about. We have people like Tammy that has many, many obligations and many, many responsibilities. And I just so grateful to you. And I know you have a daughter in the sheriff department. We have lots of Gallegos helping us, and so I'm appreciative of that. And keep praying that the fire is contained. And sometimes probably the community judge us for what is in the news or what they hear. But I wish sometimes that they can come and see our workers, either with the roads or in the wintertime. It's a constant worry about, that they will be safe. And I know many of the people that work late hours, just either worry about things or doing things or things that come up in the middle of the night. So I appreciate that. And I just want to thank all the people that work for us. And we have lots of hard workers. And I, as a commissioner, am appreciative, and Commissioner Adams is appreciative, and Commissioner Harvey, that, no matter how much we do as a commissioner, there's not time for us to do all the things that need to be done to keep the county going. And between our workers and having a good administrator that can steer the ship in the right direction is very important for us. So thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thanks, Tammy.
Have a good day.
You too.
Okay, item 11 is consideration and approval of the Monticello co-working space rental agreement between San Juan County and the State of Utah Division of Facilities Construction Management. We have Michaela Ramsey, Assistant Library Director, here today to present this one.
Good morning.
Morning. Okay, so we just had somebody who won, Deborah, who used to actually work here.
Mm-hmm.
She is working for the Center of Rural Development, and she's working remotely and using our co-working space, one of our little booths. And it's just 26 square feet, but then she has access to of course, the little kitchenette and restroom.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, her department's red tape required a contract. And so, I don't love that it's a 5-year contract, because maybe we would want to adjust prices. Although Talia has a lot of ideas that I think are going to even increase our business usage and of the co-working space. I was really excited to hear about. She's helped create another co-working space, so she knows, like, these little soundproof booths. So we could actually increase the number of soundproof booths we have. And she has some other ideas to bring some other income in. But anyhow, in order to get payments from that Center of Rural Development, they needed that 5-year contract. And so anyhow, and at least it would secure a steady income. And I've seen the usage of the space increase, so that's been good. But Talia has an idea to do possibly some training classes for economic development using the co-working space, which would give us increased exposure, plus the income from those events, or for the rental of it. And then her department would receive the income for the events. So it sounds really exciting. Anyhow, that's that. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Well, just like that space, I think there was such a good idea to have a space that probably wasn't used, and
Right.
it's really nice. I have been there a few times, and I kind of think it's a good idea. Having a regular customer, to make some of the payment is a good thing. Maybe sometimes
Yeah.
you will feel like you're losing money, but it's for sure. You have the money
Right.
for sure, and then you can do other things. And
Yeah.
so
I love that. And it means we've got eyes in the space, which of course we have cameras down there and everything. But it's nice because she knows how to contact me if there's a problem with the plumbing or a problem with anything. And
Did you fix your is the plumbing better now?
it is. We had a little issue with it. Was it last week? And it's not 100% fixed. Actually, the library, the plumbing in the library, some of it is really old and is having roots kind of grow in and
trees?
disrupt, which apparently that is something that happens around town, that some of that old stuff. Matt can actually attest to it too.
The whole neighborhood, Max.
Right.
neighborhood.
That's exactly
Right.
it.
We're, like apparently those trees are being really well fertilized. So we have our building maintenance people have done some stopgap problem solving, but they're actually working on coming up with a plan long range to do what we
replace
have
this.
to do, which, you know, at some point, but hopefully this can buy us a couple of years to try to continue to save up some money or find some grants or, you know, figure out some way to make this happen. So, but in the meantime, we have somebody down in the space, and it's been great to have that. And I think she has spread the word some too. And so we've had some, I think some of the people that have worked down there have been people that she knew. So that's great.
And it's good to have something permanent because she can bring people and she knows
Right.
the county and she.
Right. It's a good partnership between
Yeah.
their department and ours. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a good partnership. Or
Well,
so.
thank you. And I just want to thank you. The library programs are amazing. I know you're not here for the library, but it's a chance to thank you guys. You do amazing good things and how good. I go and I like what I see, the puppets. And, and
We have a lot of fun at the library, and even on a shoestring budget, we have a lot of fun. So it's great.
You do a good job stretching that dollar. Anyway, do we have?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we approve.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay,
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Okay, item number 12 is consideration and approval of election liaison and staff temporary contracts with Larissa Jackson and Angela Duncan. We got our county clerk auditor.
All right.
Present this one.
Ballots have been mailed out in the last week, and many people are receiving them and returning them to our office. We have early voting going on at all of our locations and several chapter houses. So we're covered all over, and on and I think we're in good shape. On election day, I lost one of my election workers, and so my wife Angela was interested and said, "Would it be possible?" And I said, "Well, it makes for a long day. I get up at 4 and drive to Monument Valley and stay there, and our day ends about midnight." And so I said, "If you're willing to do that, then I'm okay." And she said she would be. And Larissa Jackson will also be one of our liaisons, and she'll help in the Monument Valley location and give translation services there. And I'll have Peggy Scott with me in Monument Valley. So we'll have two poll pads, 2 express votes, and we'll each run one all day long. So, and my wife's a good hand.
Yeah, I knew Larissa when I represented that area down there.
Yeah.
She's a really nice lady and
Yeah, good person.
real competent.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion, we approve the temporary contracts with these 2 ladies.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I have some questions about so when you go to those places, did you find out that most of the people are voting by mail, or you have lots of people come in person?
For our early voting sites, we're there for 4 hours. We're having somewhere around 5 or 6 people show up, some to drop off ballots, some to ask a few questions. The amendments A, B, C, and D, of which A and D have been disqualified by courts. That seems to, a lot of people are asking, what does this mean and why is it here? And so that's probably the biggest item on the ballot. So people are asking about the amendments and what does it mean and what's going to happen next. And the judges have said that A and D, the votes will not be tallied for those, only B and C.
About 2 years ago when I was campaigning, we were in Mexican Hat campaigning there. And people came to get a mail and doing things, and they come to our table, they say, "We already voted for you." So we thought we were confused. but we didn't realize that the ballots were 2 weeks earlier than
Yeah.
we were planning. So by the time we got to Halchita, that was our 3rd time going around Halchita. People in the doors will say, "We already voted for you. We already voted for you," and we couldn't understand. And then finally, this one man said, "They came in the mail," and so we went back to our table, and we see people were getting the ballot, just filling it up there and turning it in. It was just
That's nice.
really quick things for them to do. So anyway, so it's kind of a
So overall, in the last election, and it probably was the same for 2022, is that we're receiving around 95% of all ballots through the mail. So it works well. It's well received throughout the county.
anyway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 13 is consideration and approval of 2 air conditioners to recover, recycle, and recharge air conditioners in vehicles for the road department. Getting air conditioners to do that. We got TJ there, our road superintendent here.
So for some reason, we got to change the Freon components in vehicles every so many years. And that's happened again. And so we had one of our sheriff's trucks in the other day, and we don't have the system to recharge the new Freon. So that's what this is. We're going to need one for our blending and our Monticello road sheds so that we can keep everybody cool. And if it was a normal year, we wouldn't know until next spring that we needed this. But since it's still 85 degrees and it's middle October, so that's what this is just for us to be able to service all the new vehicles and stuff in the county. We've got to update our air conditioning systems.
I just want to make a comment. I always appreciate your smile. We need to bottle it up and sell it. Oh, just pass it around. Anyway, you always come with a good attitude. And when I see requests from your department, I'm so excited. It's almost like Christmas. I feel like I'm giving a present to you guys to make your job easier and happier. And I know when we have the right tools, it can make a big difference. You know, when we're trying to work with old stuff and it takes longer. And so I always happy to approve that. So, Commissioner, do you have any?
Yeah, I'll make
comments?
a motion. We approve the request.
I'll second, and all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Keep up the
One more question. Do you know what's going on down across the street from the from the landfill?
Oh, that's probably where they're doing a staging area for the new highway to rebuild from the bottom White Mesa Hill over to Montezuma Creek.
Aren't they
Yeah,
kind of
they'll-
doing a part too, something?
Cleared it off and
Home Depot.
Yeah, I imagine that's where they'll put their hot mix plant so they can.
Yep.
That's what I'll bet.
Yeah, UDOT's using that for
I didn't know if we
staging.
were putting another cell across the street or something.
It's not our land.
It had everybody excited, but yes, that is the staging area for that Montezuma Creek core, as they do that corridor this year. This
They've-
winter and this next.
They've got almost all the culverts extended. When I was down there last week, they were finishing that stretch. They've extended them to widen the road, especially the one from the bottom of White Mesa Hill into Montezuma Creek. That'll get widened quite a bit.
Okay.
Thank you. Are you one of the 5th graders?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He used to say he was smarter than a 5th grader, but even though he taught us, I don't know if he was.
Thank you so much. Say hi to the crew.
Thank you.
We'll say
Thanks,
bye.
TJ. Okay, item 14 is consideration and approval of comment letter on the Glen Canyon National Recreation Area proposed rule for OHV and street legal ATV use. Nick.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Glen Canyon National Recreation Area has opened a 60-day comment period on a proposed rule. And this proposed rule would close 3 of our roads in our county that are within the National Recreation Area, would close them to OHV and street legal ATV use. And this came out of a settlement agreement between the complainants and the National Park Service. The settlement agreement was in March of this year. And the reason for the closure is alleged OHV and ATV damage to resources within the National Recreation Area. So the roads that are involved here, which are on the maps there, includes the Johns Canyon Class B road of roughly 7.5 miles, the Muley Point Class B road for about 1.25 miles, as well as the Dry Mesa Road, which is a Class D Delta road for a little over 4 miles. And these roads are currently open to such vehicle use, OHVs and street legal ATVs, as well as conventional vehicles. And the Johns Canyon route, of course, is one of our ATV safari routes. So closure of that one would knock out that ATV use during the safari, I suppose. Now, the settlement agreement, even though it's specific as to roads to be closed, that still has to go through this proposed rule process. And within that settlement agreement, it says the Park Service retains discretion as to whether to accept or implement the proposals for the closures that come out of the settlement agreement. So I guess that's a crack in the door, or not necessarily a loophole, but supposedly the Park Service could decide not to close those roads, even though the court settlement agreement says that's what's recommended. So that's the purpose of the comment period that they're offering to the public, and that closes November the 15th. So this letter that you have before you basically shows our concerns that it is contrary to our travel plan. It would knock a route out of the ATV safari, as well as just general public wanting to use those routes with those particular types of vehicles. Now, past history, San Juan County, we did participate as a cooperating agency with the Park Service when they did the original OHV plan finalized in 2018. And we felt really good about that plan, that they had left these certain roads open to OHVs and street legal as well as conventional vehicles. And now, with a complaint and the settlement agreement, they're proposing to close nearly 13 miles of those 3 roads.
Nick, who's the complainant?
Say again?
Who's complaining?
It was the National Parks and Conservation Association and SUA. And those 2 complaints filed maybe a couple years apart were combined by the judge. Yeah.
So have we made PLC Reg's office aware of this?
They are aware of it, and they filed a complaint after the March 24 settlement agreement. Now, they plan to amend that complaint, and they will add, which did not include our roads, they will include our roads based on this letter if you approve it.
Yeah.
So we will be involved in that complaint. Now, I asked Public Lands if they could have requested intervener status in this appeal, I guess, or complaint. And they said, well, we've done that in the past, but as an intervener, you do not have full, what would you call it, full authority or full seated eligibility or whatever in a settlement agreement. So the Public Lands Policy Office decides that a legal complaint is more effective than being an intervener.
And do you know who the judge was that approved it?
I don't recall who it was. I probably read it on the agreement, but I don't.
Yeah. Well, it's troubling, to say the least. I'm sure you've let them know that we're against closing any roads.
Right, and that's what basically
Especially B roads.
what the letter would say.
Yeah,
these are B and D, 1D
Good.
road on that.
I wonder if
We're just talking about a small, we're not talking hundreds of miles. For them just to close just those little pieces, just to make it hard, for the people to get back. And I'm sure people probably use those roads to get wood sometimes or other things, just not only safari. Anyway, I read your letter and I think it makes a case really good for us. And so
people use these roads all the time.
Say again?
these aren't roads that are unused. These are roads that are used all the time.
By conventional as well as these OHV and street legal.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
So is ATV group here in the county writing a letter too?
I think so.
Okay,
I have talked with them, and I
Okay.
believe they'll probably send a letter also.
good.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We approve sending the letter, making a comment on this recreation area.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The resolution passed, and
Okay, thank you.
thank you so
Well,
much for all you do, and
In the spirit of Calvin Black, give him heck, Nick.
Right in the spirit. Okay.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, item number 15 is consideration and approval of the intergovernmental agreement between San Juan County and the Navajo Nation for Navajo Mountain, Aneth, Montezuma Creek, and the Red Mesa Chapter Houses election accessibility improvements. This one here is we had the Utah Disability Council come and assess election access to all of our sites here in the county, including those chapters within the Navajo Nation. Navajo Nation by law, they really don't have to do any ADA improvements for accessibility to their buildings. However, Utah does have funds that are available to assess in that, not only the assessment, but also to implement any recommended upgrades to the facilities. They did come back and recommend these chapter houses for improvements, and it's just getting individuals that want to participate in elections into the buildings. So it doesn't include building improvements inside once they're inside, but it's really just ramps and making sure they have an ADA designated parking stall. So just minor improvements are what they're recommending. We did work with Trihurst. Trihurst went to these chapters and put forward an estimate of what it would cost at each one of these locations, which would roughly be around $17,184. This contract gives us the ability to have Trihurst go and work on tribal lands within the Navajo Nation to implement these projects. We will pay Trihurst through county funds and then being reimbursed by the state for that work done. We've been working, instead of working at the chapter level on different contracts for each chapter, I've reached out to the Navajo Nation Attorney General's office, and they had mentioned that multiple states have done something similar within the Navajo Nation, and so we just kind of replicated what they have done in other states. New Mexico was the last one, and then Utah's next, and so hopefully we'll be able to get these implemented before the November 4th election. But either way, 5th, so we'll have them go ahead and proceed with the work and then make some of those improvements.
I just want to make a comment. Sometime when we have opportunity for funds coming from the county to work on a restoration, be a possibility to do a special project through the NRF, and those special projects are a lot easier to work with, so that we can maybe match funds and be able to get some projects done. So if you come across something like that, we can try to see if we can have a partnership. And sometimes if the NRF comes, then the Navajo Trust Fund can join in too. So if we can think of possibilities, that's things that we can do to improve conditions down south, it would be a great thing. Do we have a motion to?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any more comments? No? Thank you.
Okay, so item number, it's small on my scale here. Let me blow that up a little. All right, so we are finished with all the business action items. Now we're heading into the Board of Equalization for item number 16 on the agenda. So we need to make a motion to enter into the Board of
I'll
Equalization.
make a motion, we go into Board of Equalization.
I second it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, as the Board of Equalization, you're considering an approval for the Board of Equalization hearing officer recommendations. We've got Rick Meyer that is here today to give us this presentation on changes.
All right, Commissioners, we're getting to the end of the season of Board of Equalization items. So we have just a few this morning, which is great. We're getting to the end, which is good, of making corrections to the tax roll.
You see the light at the end of the tunnel. We hope it's not a train coming.
I do. It's not a train coming. It's just more. And this, actually what we're doing right now and have been doing with the Board of Equalization items is helps responding to that letter you received from Josh Nielsen from the Tax Commission, stating that once we close a tax roll, any changes to the tax roll must come before the commissioners of the Board of Equalization. And that's yours. So we're successfully,
This is part of
this is part of that success where we can tell him that we have done this.
Been doing
We're
this.
we're obeying the law. We're sticking to the standards. Yes, so these are a few that we've found that need correction. And that's why we're here this morning. And any questions on these?
I think his letter had some comments about Greenbelt. Are any of these to do with Greenbelt?
No. In fact, when I read that letter this morning as well, I went through the Greenbelt and said, check, 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 check. We're doing all of those.
So what do
So
you
we're-
mean by Greenbelt?
So Greenbelt is called the Farmland Assessment Act.
Okay.
It's actually a law
Okay.
in the state of Utah that if you have 5 or more acres, contiguous acres, and you're involved in agriculture, that you can fill out an application, and that's part of what he said in his letter. You have to have an application. And with the application, we agree or disagree, and we can keep them out or keep them in. And they have to show that they're producing agriculture and their taxes get reduced. So they go from a market value on their land to a greenbelt value, not a taxable value, but a greenbelt value. And it reduces it by 95, 96%. So if you have 100,000 over here, you're paying $500 or $50. You're paying $50 over here.
So we don't need those kind of,
We need to keep the farmers in business is what it's for.
yeah.
It's an incentive to keep the land in agricultural production, keep the farmers and ranchers going. And the largest example of this is when you drive through Moab and you see that nice field over there by going north on your right-hand side. It usually got some beautiful Hereford cows in there. That's greenbelt.
Okay.
That land is worth millions of dollars.
Is that between the fairground and Sunny
It's-
Valley?
Right by the Maverick.
It's by the Maverick, the first Maverick, the South
Okay.
Maverick you come into, and
okay.
you come around Maverick, and
Yeah,
there's a field right there. And you go like, why hasn't that never been developed?
yeah, okay,
Well, that's greenbelt,
okay.
and it's worth millions and millions of dollars. But their taxes are such that they can pay their taxes on that land and keep it
Kind of protecting
undeveloped,
the
keep it in
land.
agricultural production.
That's good to understand
And
that.
so that's what we're doing. So you either have to be grazing the land with cattle, sheep, goats, horses, or it has to be farmed. And we have different designations of farmland and grazing and irrigated land and so forth. Yeah. So if you went and bought from Bruce an acre of his farm ground, he wouldn't, that 1 acre does not qualify for greenbelt, so it's got to be pulled out. And if we've done our job, then Bruce has an application there and everything's ready to go. You have to do a 5-year rollback of the taxes on that 1 acre. And so depending on where it is or what the value has been, it's a substantial amount of money. So again, another incentive to keep it in agriculture. Yeah, it's a good program. I think it's very well. It was a wise program. It was well done.
I have a question about land. As you go, work with properties, have you noticed any outside foreign people buying lands in San Juan County?
Oh, yes, we do.
Do we know what kind of foreign countries they are?
Well, we have quite a bit of California money coming in, and whether that's coming from foreign investors or not, I do not know, but different people are buying land in San Juan County.
And because I know that, we have certain countries that are investing, especially in Arizona, they're buying pretty much all the farmland that they can.
Right.
And so I did visit with Kelly Laws because they're the ones supposed to be monitoring, sales to foreign entities. And I know they're getting creative. They're probably not going to do it under the name
Of Chinese or
whatever, but
or Russian.
I don't know if the Russians will come, but I think the Chinese are very, very interested in our farmland. And especially where there's sources that they were beneficial for them. San Juan County not only have farmland, we have lots of minerals that they will be interested. So I was just, kind of curious as I hear different things
Shell
going
companies or different
on.
people.
Anyway, so I just was curious.
We do have some billionaires that look at our property, and one has bought about 7,000 acres out on Summit Point. I've met with him probably 5 or 6 times. He's legit.
Yeah.
Property owner wants to buy land and hunt deer on it and elk, so that's why he bought it. So he go hunting.
So he can have some.
So he could get one deer and one
in the
elk.
office and they can see the deer in the property. Yeah, I understood.
He just loves going on his own property, closing the gate, and
Well, I know there are people that do that. They have
he's a
those
very nice gentleman.
ranch and they have the cameras everywhere and they can send the office and see the deer. Anyway,
Yes.
but, let's see.
Okay,
So,
Commissioner Harvey.
do we have any more question do you have a question for us? Or
I do not.
is anything in the letter that we need to be doing?
Well,
Is
we need
something-
to look at this letter. I mean, seriously, look very hard at it. And most of it deals with the assessor's office. There was some that was pointed towards Lyman over here for the clerk auditor office. But we are actually working on most of those items he addressed.
Okay.
We're actually in the process of working on those. So I feel
That's a
good
good
about
thing.
where
Yeah,
direction we're
yeah.
going.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
I think we have to.
Oh,
do
what
we?
No, make a motion in.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We approve the adjustments.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any more questions? The motion passed.
That motion passes. All right. Okay, the next item. Thanks, Shay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Commissioner. Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, the next one if you want to go through and make your commission reports and then go into executive session. We've got an executive session on here. Sorry.
Do we need to go
We
to?
need to make a motion to go back into the Board of Commission meeting.
Make a motion to go back into commission meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, now as that hat, then we've got an executive session on here to discuss the character, professional competence, or physical and mental health of an individual as permitted under UCA 52-4-205.
So we need to go to.
Make a motion, we go into executive session.
I'll second.
I'll second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So
So we're
we are into,
executive session. Let me go
So-
through and we'll
so this
shut
is-
everything off.
so we need to close that door
And the windows too.
in the windows.
Step down, Judy. I'll be right back.
Let me check with her.
Let me turn this off first.